Your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Peter Parker's origin story and early days using the Spider-Man persona are explored while Norman Osborn becomes his mentor. In November 2021, the animated series Spider-Man, Freshman Year was announced, with Jeff Trammell serving as head writer and executive producer. The series features a style that celebrates and pays homage to the early Spider-Man comics. Hudson Thames voices Parker, after previously doing so in What If? The series was retitled Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man by December 2023. The first season of Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man is scheduled to be released in 2024. A second season, originally announced as Spider-Man, Sophomore Year, is in development. Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man is set in an alternate reality from the main MCU continuity in which Norman Osborn is Peter Parker's mentor instead of Tony Stark. Charlie Cox voices Matt Murdock/Daredevil, reprising the role from previous MCU media. The series features Osborn and Otto Octavius/Dr. Octopus, following the appearance of other versions of the characters in Spider-Man, No Way Home, 2021, along with Mac Gargan/Scorpion and Dr. Stephen Strange from prior MCU media, and Nico Minoru, who appeared in the Marvel television series Runaways, 2017 to 2019. Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man is a comic book series that was published by Marvel Comics. The title is derived from a trademark self-referential comment often made by Spider-Man, as in just another service provided by Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. The first series began in October 2005 and was primarily written by Peter David. Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man was cancelled after issue number 24, part 2 of J. Michael Straczynski and Joe Quesada's controversial One More Day storyline. Kurt Busiek has revealed that in 1995 he originally suggested Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man as the title of the series, which was eventually published as Untold Tales of Spider-Man. In March 2019 a new volume was launched by writer Tom Taylor and artist Juan Cabal and lasted 14 issues, ending in February 2020. I Hate a Mystery, issues #11-13. Faced with the unbridled anger and hatred of protesting parents, as well as his own sense of responsibility for potentially endangering his students by revealing his secret identity in support of Iron Man's pro-registration movement, Peter decides to resign his station as science teacher in Midtown High, telling the principal he intends to finish out the day. Also of note is the inclusion of Miss Arrow, a nurse who falls in love with Flash Thompson and may be more than she seems. She is able to emit stingers from her wrist, much like Spider-Man himself. Flash, angry at Peter for pretending to be Spider-Man, challenges Peter to a game of dodgeball, during which Peter immediately hits Flash in the face, giving him 2 black eyes. Before after-school programs are completed, Francis Klum returns as the new Mysterio and traps Spider-Man and the students and staff of Midtown High inside the building, within an impenetrable cloud of noxious gases. As the police and terrified parents surround the school and look for a way in, Daniel Burkhart, the second Mysterio, appears and promises to end this fiasco, walking unchallenged through the smoke and into the school. Inside, Spider-Man seeks out Francis Klum's Mysterio, as Flash Thompson and Miss Arrow help the remaining students escape the school. Burkhart's Mysterio reveals he is only there to help in order to end Klum's short time donning the Mysterio visage, calling the new Mysterio a little rat, scurrying around and nibbling on the accoutrements of your betters. As the two Mysterios fight, Spider-Man calmly hangs out on the ceiling, reading the local sports section of the newspaper. Ultimately, Spidey finished off Burkhart with the help of his spider sense. During this, Flash finally admits to himself that Peter really is Spider-Man, and helps his old friend save the students, as well as take down the villainous Klum, saving Spider-Man's life in the process. After this, Flash and Peter re-establish their friendship. During all of this, Quentin Beck, the original Mysterio, has also appeared at the school, although only revealing himself to Francis Klum, before fading to the background as Francis Klum and Daniel Burkhart battle over the mantle of Mysterio. Beck, displaying the use of never-before-seen powers, snatches Miss Arrow from Flash and the group of students, and tells her that their superiors have use for Spider-Man remaining at the school, instructing her to convince Peter to remain as a science teacher for the time being. Beck removes his helmet, revealing himself to be missing half of his head, a telltale previous death, by suicide. Taking wing, issues #14-16. The Vulture is recruited to kill off Spider-Man because he is now beside the law. Meanwhile, Spider-Man receives a cloaking device from Beast in an abandoned church and uses the device to get a job at Midtown, as Ben Reilly. In the second issue, familiar characters are brought back, including Deborah Whitman and Betty Brant. Deb has written a book titled Two-Faced, How Spider-Man Ruined My Life. The Vulture predicts Peter will show up in a battle as staged in medias res. The issue ends with the Vulture and Spider-Man falling off of a building. As they fall, Spider-Man gains his composure long enough to save himself and the Vulture and take Toomes to the hospital. Meanwhile, Deb Whitman confesses to Betty Brant that the Daily Bugle pressured her and gave her money to write the scathing tell-all book, and apologizes. As Vulture lies in a paralyzed state in the hospital, Spider-Man sneaks in his room using his cloaking device. Vulture asks him to kill him, as his state is a sign of weakness, but he knows Peter won't. He then says that Peter's uncle is lucky for dying, so he wouldn't see how weak his nephew is. Spider-Man snaps and puts a pillow over Toomes' face as he struggles for life. At the last second Peter relents, stating for that a man who wants to die so bad, he struggled pretty hard. He leaves Toomes with a statement about how compassion is a good thing. Sandblasted, issues #17-19. Starting with the Back in Black storyline, Spider-Man now hides out under the guise of Ben Reilly and takes a job as Flash Thompson's assistant coach. Soon, Flash realizes Ben is Peter and offers him shelter at his apartment. While resting, Peter is visited by Flint Marko aka Sandman. Sandman had earlier broken into prison to rescue Floyd Baker, his father, but failed and enlisted Spider-Man to help by claiming the man Baker murdered was Ben Parker. See issues #8-10, though he'd been dead for years. Along the way they meet a stoner named Dennis who had seen Ben Parker shoot Spider-Man 2211 and taken the murdered Spider-Man 2211's helmet and was waiting to go to the future. Meanwhile, Flash Thompson was on a date with Betty Brant until she was attacked in the restroom by thousands of spiders. Upon inspection, cocaine was discovered and the maître asked them to leave. Miss Arrow appeared soon after, as she had been hiding in the stall. Afterwards, Betty distracted Flash and caused them to wreck a police car. Taking the helmet, and allowing the stoner to come along, Spider-Man and Sandman followed its instructions to Midtown High where they discovered the mystery. The Ben Parker that the Hobgoblin 2211 had derailed from the timeline was murdered and a chameleon 2211 had ingested his DNA and morphed into him. Revealing its true form, Spider-Man and Sandman were able to stop the creature moments before Floyd Baker was executed. Yet something puzzled Spider-Man. The helmet had registered 11,000 targets in the school with Chameleon, but he was alone when they found him. Spider-Man in film dates back to 1977, the rights belonging to Marvel until 1999, when Sony bought them for $7 million. He has been Marvel's most successful character in the cinema industry ever since. After selling the Spider-Man motion picture rights to Sony, Marvel eventually founded its own studio, developing the Marvel Cinematic Universe, MCU, based on the characters they still held the rights to. This would change in 2016, when Sony and Disney too entered an agreement to include Spider-Man in the MCU. Despite some disagreements pertaining to finances and merchandising between the two parties, the agreement proved a successful endeavor for both companies. The following two Avengers sequels, finally with Spider-Man, crossed the $2 billion mark at worldwide box office for the first time. Meanwhile, Sony in association with Marvel 3 launched the Sony's Spider-Man Universe, SU, with Sony entering a $3 billion streaming agreement with Netflix and Disney. The fictional character Spider-Man, a comic book superhero created by Stan Lee and Steve Ditko and featured in Marvel Comics publications, has appeared as a main character in numerous theatrical and made-for-television films. The first 4 films were linked to television series and screened in theaters only in certain countries. Nicholas Hammond starred as Peter Parker/Spider-Man in the 1977 made-for-television film Spider-Man that spawned a broadcast series, and would appear as the character in 2 sequels edited from those episodes. In 1978, the Toei Company created a theatrical spin-off of their Spider-Man television series, with Shinji Todo reprising his role as Takeya Yamashiro/Spider-Man. None of these films had a theatrical release in the United States. By 1999, Sony Pictures Entertainment had acquired the motion picture rights to the character for cinema and TV, creating 2 Spider-Man animated TV series, and 2 film series comprising their own continuities, the Sam Raimi Spider-Man trilogy of films, 2002 to 2007, starring Tobey Maguire as the character, and the Mark Webb Amazing Spider-Man films, 2012 to 2014, starring Andrew Garfield in the role. In February 2015, Disney, Marvel Studios, and Sony made a deal to share the Spider-Man film rights, leading to a new iteration of Spider-Man being introduced and integrated into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The deal allowed Sony Pictures to continue to own, finance, distribute, and have final creative control of the solo Spider-Man films, with Walt Disney Studios Motion Pictures distributing the films with his other appearances in a supporting capacity. Tom Holland portrays this version of Spider-Man, and has appeared in 6 films to date, from Captain America, Civil War, 2016, to Spider-Man, No Way Home, 2021. In September 2019, following a brief standoff resulting in the termination of the old agreement, Disney and Sony relented to fan outcry and reached a new agreement for Holland's version to return for future films. The first film to be produced afterward was Spider-Man, No Way Home, 2021, where he appears alongside Maguire and Garfield, who reprise their roles in the film as supporting characters. A 4th MCU Spider-Man film is in development at Sony and Disney. Plans for an animated Spider-Man film were officially announced by Sony in April 2015, which eventually became Spider-Man, Into the Spider-Verse, 2018, from Sony Pictures Animation. Mike Moore voices Miles Morales/Spider-Man in the film, along with various other versions of Peter Parker and alternate versions of Spider-Man from the multiverse also appearing. A sequel, titled Spider-Man, Across the Spider-Verse, was released in 2023, with a finale, titled Spider-Man, Beyond the Spider-Verse, currently in production. Potential spin-offs are also planned. The Spider-Man films have been generally well received. They have collectively grossed $10.2 billion at the global box office, with Far From Home becoming the first Spider-Man film to gross over $1 billion worldwide, followed by No Way Home, which became Sony's highest-grossing film of all time. In 2019, Into the Spider-Verse won the Academy Award for Best Animated Feature. 15 years before, the Academy had awarded Spider-Man 2 the Oscar for Best Visual Effects.